Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. Let's begin with the big story. The signal gate of Yemen attack plans leaked to editor-in-chief of The Atlantic continues to rock the Trump administration. U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and other Senate Democrats wrote to Republican President Donald Trump and his top officials on Wednesday, urging a Justice Department probe into how Jeffrey Goldberg was inadvertently included in the secret group discussion of sensitive Yemen war plans. Trump administration officials have said no classified material was shared on that group chat on Signal, an encrypted commercial messaging app. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe faced more questioning before the Congress on Wednesday. Listen in to the heated exchanges that took place at the Intelligence Committee hearing of the House.
Yes, Ranking Member. My answer yesterday was based on my recollection or the lack thereof on the details that were posted there. I was not, and what was shared today reflects the fact that I was not directly involved with that part of the Signal chat and replied at the end reflecting the effects, the very brief effects that the National Security Advisor had shared.
So it's your testimony that less than 2 weeks ago, you were on a Signal chat that had all of this information about F-18s and MQ-9 Reapers and targets on strike, and you in that 2-week period simply forgot that that was there. That's your testimony?
My testimony is I did not recall the exact details of what was included there.
That was not your testimony. Your testimony was that you were not aware of anything related to weapons packages, targets, and timing.
As the testimony yesterday continued on, there were further questions related to that, where I acknowledged that there was conversation about weapons, and I don't remember the exact wording that I used, but I did not recall the specific details that were included.
Director Gabbard, you've reasserted that there was no classified information. I think we can all agree that that information shouldn't have been out there. But let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the ODNI's classification guidance?
I'm familiar.
I've actually got a copy right here. If I read you a part of that guidance, I wonder if you could tell me what the level of classification indicated is. I'm reading from your classification guidance. And the criteria is information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing an attack. Do you recall what your own guidance would suggest that be classified?
I don't have the specifics in front of me, but it would point to what was shared would fall under the DoD's classification system and the Secretary of Defense's authority.
So let me help you, because there's a very clear answer.
And what is not.
I guess you don't have it, but information providing, this is the ODNI guidance, information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing an attack should be classified as top secret. Do you disagree with that?
I don't disagree with that. I just point out that the DoD classification guidance is separate from the ODNI's classification guidance.
Do you think it would be materially different?
Ultimately, the Secretary of Defense holds the authority to classify or declassify.
Do you think it's likely that DoD guidance is materially different from what I just read?
I haven't reviewed the DoD guidance, so I can't comment.
This text message is clearly classified information. Secretary Hegseth has disclosed military plans as well as classified information. He needs to resign immediately. He needs to resign immediately, and a full investigation needs to be undertaken with regard to whether other similar Signal chats are occurring in this administration.
General Cruz, are you familiar with this system?
I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment, but...
Well, I'll help you out. This is an SA-3 anti-aircraft system.
Correct.
Are you familiar with this next system?
I am.
What is it?
I'm going to have to ask you.
It's an SA-6.
I'm going to guess that
this is also an advanced anti-aircraft system, is it not?
It is. It was used widely in the Balkans in the 90s, correct?
And the Houthis also have this system, don't they?
They certainly do.
And they've employed it against our aircraft, have they not?
They have attempted to, correct.
Now, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth texted the start time for the planned killing of a Houthi militant in Yemen on the 15th of March, along with details of further U.S. airstrikes that would normally be closely guarded secrets, as was revealed in the follow-up report of The Atlantic published on Wednesday. The screenshots of the chat released by The Atlantic bear the hard proof. While Trump administration continues to attack the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic and downplays the security breach.
The Atlantic published a follow-up report. It is more damning than the previous one. This time, the Atlantic editor-in-chief posted parts of the chat detailing the Yemen attack in the Signal group. It detailed the F-18 launch and drone strikes. The report released the entire Signal chat among Trump's senior national security officials on Wednesday. This comes a day after the U.S. President's national security advisor, Michael Waltz, in a television interview, accepted responsibility for the group chat.
I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out, and that's the part that embarrassing, yes, but Pete and I are veterans. We know these operations. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation.
White House continued to slam the Atlantic editor-in-chief, questioning his credibility and downplaying the security breach. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted Atlantic's follow-up report on X, calling it a hoax. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance in his X post said that Jeffrey Goldberg oversold the report. Mike Waltz invited the Atlantic editor-in-chief to the Signal group, and while all guns are trained at him, the U.S. National Security Advisor continues to enjoy full support from the president.
Well, I think it's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very, very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor.
The Signal Gate of Yemen attack has triggered Senate members to call for resignation of the top security officials. But the Trump administration continues to downplay the security breach of the leak of attack plans on legal and technical grounds. Bureau Report, India Today.
On the India-US tariff and trade talks, with April 2nd deadline set by President Donald Trump for reciprocal tariffs looming, India and the US have begun bilateral trade negotiations in New Delhi. Assistant US Trade Representative Brendan Lynch is leading the American trade delegation for talks that may last 5 days. On Wednesday, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with US Chamber of Commerce CEO Susan Clark. Jaishankar later said that active and intense negotiations are underway between India and the United States of America. The visit signals an effort to resolve tensions over tariffs that could impact 87% of India's $66 billion worth of exports to the United States of America. According to sources, India is pushing for exemptions and has already reduced import duties on several US goods, including bourbon whiskey and motorcycles. Medicine prices controlled by Government of India is set to get more expensive. Controlled category medicines also set to get more expensive by 1.7%. The two countries hope to finalize the first tranche of the agreement by the fall of 2025. Following Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington, D.C. to meet the U.S. President, the two countries have agreed to work on a trade deal and deepen bilateral trade to $500 billion by the year 2030.
On trade, we had a very open discussion, and the result of that discussion was that the Prime Minister and the President agreed that we would conclude a, you rightly said, not a free trade agreement, but a bilateral trade agreement by fall this year. And that is what is currently under discussion. We have a team here, by the way, they're not it's not that they are kicking off the discussion. My colleague, the Trade Minister, the Commerce Minister was in the US last month. And since then, actually, we've been working the trade account through virtual means. So there's a very active and intense trade discussion going on at this point of time.
दुनिया भर के देश आज भारत के साथ संबंध बढ़ाना चाहते हैं क्योंकि आज भारत में ताकत दिखती है आज उन्हें दिखता है कि भारत एक विकसित देश बनते जा रहा है उनको आज दिखता है कि कैसे भारत विकास यात्रा में तेज गति से आज दुनिया में सर्वप्रथम देश बनने जा रहे हैं आज साथ-साथ बड़े-बड़े प्रमुख देश भारत के साथ दो पक्षीय द्वीपीय बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स करके व्यापार बढ़ाना चाहते हैं क्योंकि उनको ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस दिखता है.
Can there be a U.S.-mediated peace between Russia and Ukraine? Now, the United States reached separate deals on Tuesday with Ukraine and with Russia to pause their attacks at sea and against energy targets, with Washington agreeing to push to lift some sanctions against Moscow. Russia and Ukraine agreed to a limited ceasefire. The United States confirms an agreement was reached to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea as it wrapped up 3 days of talks with the Ukrainians and the Russian delegations in Saudi Arabia. The two warring sides in talks brokered by the United States of America have agreed to halt military action in the Black Sea and strikes on energy infrastructure for a 30-day period. U.S. President Donald Trump reiterates that they will get the war stopped, claiming talks between Russia and Ukraine are going well. But Russia has tabled several conditions for the 30-day sea and energy truce, including that the United States of America lift sanctions on financial organizations and agricultural sector, easing credit limit to Russian banks, and ending shipping bans on Russian vessels. Ukrainian President, on the other hand, Volodymyr Zelensky, sounded caution over the ceasefire deal, claiming Russia was likely to violate the ceasefire. And with that, we'll shift focus to another story over here. The question is, can this truce really last? Ukraine and Russia accused one another on Wednesday of flouting the truce on energy strikes. People in both countries, too, remain skeptical of the truce paving way for a lasting peace.
3 long years have passed by since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. There has been mediation and attempts to bring both countries to table to talk peace, but they failed. Well, in its 4th year, another peace dialogue attempt is going on with America mediating. While leaders talk and haggle on fine prints of Black Sea dialogue, people of both countries remain skeptical as the destructive war continues in the background.
How is it possible to solve such a big and complex problem in 2 months or in 1.5? No, it will take half a year minimum. God willing, it will happen in the end of the year. And I think it's even silly to wait for it. It's happening now. I think negotiations will lead to nothing because Americans will keep their one line till the end and Russia won't be in as good a position as it could be. because they could change the situation by manipulating the fact that Europeans don't want peace.
While Moscow is worried about being misunderstood and betrayed, Kiev finds it hard to trust the Kremlin's intention.
There's still the attacks on the civilians, on the peaceful citizens, and of course it cannot be perceived in any way as a one step to peace as the concept.
After USA and Russia talks in Saudi Arabia, they still continue to attack our cities, and we have some people who died after it. So no, I don't believe in it.
I just one of victim of this war. Maybe my trauma say through me, but I think not. I don't believe.
23 Ukrainians captured in war were convicted on terrorism charges by a Russian court on 26th March. Kiev denounced the trial as a sham. And the war claimed another innocent life on Thursday. A Russian state TV journalist was killed and her camera person was seriously injured by a landmine in Russia's Belgorod region near the border with Ukraine. Bureau Report, India Today.
The other big conflict, the Israel-Hamas war. Close to Black Sea in Israel, people are protesting over Israel and Hamas war, both in Tel Aviv and in Gaza. But the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday said that Israel would seize territory in the Gaza Strip if Hamas failed to release the remaining hostages held by the group. Hamas responded with threatening warning of hostages would be in coffins if Israel forcefully tried to secure their release.
Israeli protesters again rallied in Tel Aviv against Netanyahu government, demanding release of all hostages. Hamas, on the other hand, issued a warning on Wednesday that any attempt by Israel to recover hostages through force will result in their deaths. In Gaza, hundreds of Palestinians protested, demanding an end to war. Northern Gaza is the most affected by the war following the October 2023 Hamas raid on Israel. Palestinians have lost loved ones and homes in this war, and now they are out on the war-ravaged streets in a rare public show of opposition to Hamas. Israel resumed attacks last week, shattering a 2-month ceasefire. But Israelis are not happy with the Netanyahu government. Anti-government protesters blocked a highway leading to Jerusalem. Protests gain momentum as Israel's parliament discusses a law to change the committee that appoints judges. This measure could spark a new constitutional crisis and help Benjamin Netanyahu enact policies that have drawn fierce criticism. On Tuesday, Knesset gave final approval to long-delayed 2025 state budget in a turbulent session. This showed how lawmakers and the country remain divided over the fate of hostages still held in Gaza and the wider political landscape.
I came here to demonstrate against the government that yesterday passed a budget that is not helping the people, is not helping anyone. They forgot the hostages. They're trying to dismantle the country, and we are demonstrating and going from here to Jerusalem to demonstrate in front of Prime Minister Netanyahu's house.
People on the both sides are protesting for the authorities to ensure safety of their loved ones, whether in hostile militant captivity or caught in a war. Bureau Report, India Today.
Protests are shaking the streets of Serbia and Turkey, but it's not just about the demonstrations. It's about how governments are responding. In Serbia, accusations of a banned sonic weapon being used against peaceful protesters have sparked outrage. Meanwhile, in Turkey, protests against the jailing of Istanbul's mayor continue despite a government crackdown. Are these governments resorting to extreme measures to silence dissent? That's our next report.
It was meant to be a peaceful protest in Belgrade. Phones lit in silence to honor railway disaster victims. Then a sudden eerie sound. Witnesses call it a sound from hell. Panic followed. Protesters fled, some suffering nausea, ear pain and disorientation. Reports suggest that the police used an illegal sonic weapon. The government denies it. But images of an LRAD 450XL device tell a different story. With 500,000 signatures demanding answers, pressure is mounting. Meanwhile, in Turkey, anti-government protests are surging after the jailing of Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, a move critics call politically motivated. Each night, thousands defy police crackdowns, chanting against Erdogan. He dismisses it as a show, but the opposition is gearing up for nationwide rallies. Two nations, two governments accused of silencing dissent, one with sound, the other with force. Bureau Report, India Today.
Google has unveiled a new and more advanced Gemini AI model. It claims that the Gemini 2.5 Pro is Google's most intelligent model, which can handle more complex problems in coding, science, and math. Cyrus John with this report.
All right, so big news coming in from Google as it has introduced a new AI model called Gemini 2.5. Now, how this enhances your experience, let me just explain. AI right now is a bit robotic, and Google with this AI model is looking to change that. It's looking to make AI more conversational, its ability to think and also become more intuitive. Now, the experience is very different when I use it on the laptop, and let me just show you how this will enhance your experience. Now, to use this AI model, you basically have to have Google Advanced on your machine. That's basically a premium subscription that you'll have to buy. And when you go to the platform, you go to gemini.google.com. Now, when you enter there, you will see Gemini Advanced 2.5 Pro. You enter a new chat. And here, for example, if I want information about Goa, so if I type, give me a travel plan for Goa. And as I do that, the search result will give me options for flight plans. It will also think in the background. It also tell me the hotel recommendations, some of the tourist spots, and all of the information will be given to me in a plain, simple language that I can understand and follow. And that's what Google is trying to do with this. It's trying to make it conversational and simple enough so that people like you and I can use this easily and extract information as per our choices. And that is exactly what Gemini's 2.5 version is trying to do. And I think it's great. It's great that the whole conversational, the whole robotic version of AI is slowly and steadily shifting to a more conversational, human-like version. And Google, with this AI, right now it's under a paid wall. You have to pay for it. However, it will soon come to the free versions. Hopefully it does. And then, general users will be able to extract the best information out of AI. And I think it's a great, great way to search the internet.
You want a smarter AI tool? You have to pay for it. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of World Today. Thank you, goodbye, and take care.